In this video, we're going to talk about IP addresses, IP subnets, IP net blocks, and the Citrix tools available to explore the web from behind the scenes and learn more about the domains that are hosted at these IP addresses. As you know, an IP address is kind of like a phone number for a website, if you will, an internet number that is usually in the form xx.xx.xx.xx, and it is a numerical address for a server, and you will have domains hosted at these servers. And if the domain is at an IP address by itself, then you have what's called a dedicated IP address. And if there is an IP address with more than one domain at it, then you will have what's called a shared IP address. And shared IPs are particularly important from a Citrix perspective because these often indicate domains and groups of domains that are part of one person or company's portfolio. And in terms of publisher relationship building, it's much better to meet people with portfolios of domains than simply one person with one domain. So using IP visibility and IP subnet and net block visibility, Citrix users can start to look behind the scenes and see what's going on from the IP block perspective. Here we're going to use the Show IPs macro above the results, and when we click this, Citrix will show the IP address for each of these domains in the locale column. One note about Citrix locale: this is a computer algorithm that examines the location of the IP address and combines this with other information like Alexa traffic rank, top level domain, and more. In the case of this site, we see a UK hosting company and a UK IP address. But when we take a look at Alexa information, we see that it gets most of its hits from Israel, and the Citrix algorithm calls it Israel. Now when we're viewing these domains in IP view, we're able to sort by the locale column, and then we can look at these sites in ascending or descending order by IP. Now this comes in handy. Right off the bat, we see two domains at the exact same numerical IP address. Now these two are obvious. They have the same domain names, they have the same favorites icons, and they sit at the same IP address. If we'd like to go further, we can use Citrix to flip this IP address, if you will, and then we can take a look at all the domains at this address, which in this case is a shared IP address in the Netherlands. Another way to explore the IP address for a domain, or an IP address of an unknown domain, is to use the Citrix quick search box in the upper left of the system and enter an IP address. When the IP Ajax appears, you can flip the IP address, or you can flip the net block. Here we see the same IP flipped again, and we can reorder this by force or by links or by locale to find the targets that we're interested in. We'll note that this IP is hosted by a hosting company in the Netherlands called True Server, and when we look at the net block, we can see all the IPs registered to True Server that Citrix has found, the number of domains hosted at each, the average force and the total force, and when we scroll past these IPs, Citrix will display the domain names hosted at this net block. In the same fashion, when we see a shared IP, we can click on that, or if we'd like to see all the domains in a particular subnet, we can click on that. So now we're going to look at the 213.239.137 subnet, all on the True Server BV net block, and we see 95 domains. Reorder them by force to see the strongest in the set. Users are also able to sort by company column, and this will reveal company names, enabling users to find publishers with more than one domain in their portfolio. For example, we see here Kurt and Kurt, and when we look at his IPs, we see they're both at the same IP. So we can safely say that this guy has more than one website in his portfolio. And if I use this Citrix tool to see 1+ sites from this company or person, we see now that he does, in fact, apparently have several domains in his portfolio. If we show the IPs, this is confirmed because they're all at the same IP address. And again, when we flip his IP address, we can see what other domains are hosted at this IP, and we're able to navigate backwards and view the subnet, which is in this case a liquid web IP subnet 209.59.134 with 446 known active domains. Users can surf to a subnet at any time by using the quick search box and flip IP address. So these are some of the tools regarding IP addresses that are available to you in Citrix to get the most out of your time researching new publishers online.